Welcome to Advanced Mastering Syntax Searching to Find Patterns. And if you need to bug out or can't catch it all, we do have a replay. It's available for 5 days at LearnLogos.com/replay. It's a stream only, no download, and that'll be available tomorrow morning. And then if you decide while you're watching the webinar that you want it, we do offer a kind of a discount for you who are coming live at $6. Once I launch that tomorrow, the replay, then this price will go to $7.99. So it's $2 saving, which is pretty substantial, about 30% off. And take advantage of that. Let's get started. And I'm really excited about tonight's webinar. This is a fun one for me. I enjoy doing these more technical ones, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. Here's the personal book, and there really is no recommended or required books for this. But let me just take a moment to say why this matters. The syntax search in Logos does something really amazing. It allows you to search for patterns and structures at the word and phrase and sentence level, but also in combination with lexical, that is, your lemmas, Greek and Hebrew words. You can also include morphology, even searching on grammar, that is parts of speech, not just morphology, but like grammar constructions, and even include some semantic searches, like searching on all the animals in the Bible, which we will actually do this evening. And the wonderful thing about syntax, it will allow you to confirm an interpretation. So when you take a verse and you look at it and you read and you go, okay, I think I understand this, and then you want to say, am I really understanding this grammar? Well, you can search on that structure and then see how else it is used. And I'll give you a good example. I'm not going to run this particular search, but it just kind of came to mind. I think this is a great example of why this matters. So we're going to go to the Lord's Supper passage. Here we are in Mark 14:24. And Jesus says, and he said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many." And he also says before that, "This is my body." Now, as you may not have realized, there are 4 views on the Lord's Supper. You have the Catholic view called transubstantiation, which says that the physical bread, the physical wine, through the incantation of the priest's prayer, converts it, changes it into the literal body, blood of Christ. That's transubstantiation. The Reformers, Martin Luther, rebuked that, and he says, no, it's not a transubstantiation, it's a consubstantiation, meaning Christ is within the body, his body's within the bread, within the cup, but the bread and wine did not change. Then you move a little bit further and you get to Calvin, who says, no, Luther, Christ is spiritually present as we all gather to worship, but he's not in the bread, he's not in the cup. And then lastly, you have Zwingli, who comes and says, you guys are all wrong. This is a symbol. This language is figurative. He's making an analogy. Now, how do you discern that? Because each one of those groups, depending on what you're involved in, you might have a particular view on this. Well, if you search on the grammatical pattern, you're going to find that this phrase, "this is actually used in other places of the scripture. In fact, one of the places that it's used, and I'll look it up this way, and here we go. Yeah, here we go. Acts 1:9. It turns out, and in fact, I'll demonstrate this. Let me duplicate the text, move it over, and we'll actually go back. And if we look at the underlying Greek here, go to verse 24. All right, so look at this, and I think this is the right one. So we have this expression, "this is," and this particular expression, here it is, "that is the field of blood." So this exact grammatical construction repeats itself here in Acts 1:19. Now that can be very useful for us grammatically to understand how this phrase should be understood. Should "this is" be translated as "this is literally my blood, this is literally my body"? Or should it be used like Acts 1:19? It's not literally, the field has not literally been changed into a field of blood, but it's now a label. It has a there's an analogy going on here. There's a picture, an expression, some symbolism, and therefore, if you take that same grammatical analogy, that structure, and apply it to Mark and Matthew and Luke, where they talk about the Lord's Supper, we can conclude grammatically it looks like a symbol is being assigned, a label is being attached to something so that we have new meaning about that. So this field is now have this new meaning of hakeldama, field of blood, because of what happened with Judas. And therefore, we have this new label. And in the case of Christ, we have a new label, which, by the way, was a Passover meal. And the Passover meal, as you know, was a picture of the deliverance of Israel out of Egypt, out of bondage. Now, the new meaning of the Passover is deliverance out of the bondage of sin. So, beautiful pictures. And this is a great example how that one simple expression works. And so, there you go. I thought that'd be a pretty good way to start this off. Okay, so let me return back to the personal book. And that's why this matters. Now, there's several resources we're going to use. Anderson Forbes, Old Testament. Lexham Hebrew Cantillation, Old Testament. Open Text, New Testament. And Lexham Syntactic, New Testament. There's the Cascadia as well, but it functions just like these other ones. But we're going to primarily use these 4 resources. Now, let's talk about the building blocks. How do we build a search? And this is so key. And there are actually some strategies here that will make life a whole lot easier when you're dealing with syntax. All right, so let's do that passage I just did. I think this will be a good one to work with. All right, so let's go back to Mark 14:24. And here we go. This is my blood. All right, so the first thing you do is you must start with the verse that has your example. If you don't have a verse, you're going to be very handicapped. You're going to be really struggling to construct a search. You need an example. The next thing you need is to open up a particular clause visualization. So since we're in the New Testament, we're going to do this with open text. Let's try that one first and see how that works. So here's open text, and it's all one word, one phrase. In fact, let's do this. Let's do it with the Lexham Syntactic, since most of you probably have that. The open text, which I highly recommend you have to purchase, now used to be included, no longer. Now here we are, we're typed in Lexham Syntactic, clause visualization, Cascadia syntax graphs of New Testament. There's 2 flavors, the SBL edition, actually that's Cascadia, we want Lexham. So we have the Lexham SBL edition, and then the, right here, the Lexham, just plain old sentence analysis. They're identical. So don't be thrown off by the SBL edition. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to click on the other one. All right. Let me left click and drag this over to the right. Now we're going to go to our passage, Mark 14:24. Now, typically when I work with syntax, I have at least 2 monitors. One monitor for viewing the full syntax. So let me open this in a floating window, bring it into our layout. So here we are at Mark 14:24. So you can see why we have the full screen. Now, a couple settings you need to be aware of up here at the top, the alpha and omega icon. If you click the little drop-down arrow, you're going to see some options. Now, currently, I have all of them enabled for teaching, but when I normally use and do this, I turn off a lot of this information so it's much easier to view, but I'm including them all today so you can see all the information. Now, here's what we're looking for. We found our verse, and we're looking for this phrase, this is the expression. Okay, and there's actually another article included here as well. So we could include that if we wanted to. Now let's go back to the personal book and look at what else the next steps are. Okay, so we start with our verse. Second point, only search for your passage to confirm the search is working. This is a big deal because you'll waste a lot of time running searches that actually may crash Logos if it's not set up properly. So how do we do this? Well, we go to Search on the main menu. Then we click More and locate Syntax and click it. All right, then we select our database. So we'll click this drop-down menu here, and we're going to locate the Lexham Syntactic Greek New Testament right there. And we click All Passages, and we're going to put in Mark 14:24 and select that from the menu below. Very important you do your passage. Then you go over to the right, you click Query, and then you locate New Syntax Search. Some of these have very descriptive previous search results. Some don't. That's just the way it is. Logos really has not done much updating to this tool for a long time. So we're going to click New Syntax Search. And now we've got our search. Notice that it kept the lexeme, but it didn't keep the all passages. So we'll click that and put in our passage again, Mark 14:24. And we'll select that. All right, what's the next step after that? Then we build, and this is key, from the word level to the sentence level. In other words, we start from the inside and work our way to the outside. And let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go back to my lexeme here, and I'm going to right click and dock this so we can kind of have both on the same screen. So I'm going to get my search now brought in here as well. And we're going to right click on the tab and choose dock this tab. Now, using this smaller screen makes it a little bit difficult to maneuver, but we'll do our best. We may have to change the magnification on this. All right, so here's our first word. Now what we want to do is go to the far left column where the Greek is, and we want to right click, get our right click menu, and make sure we choose the circle icon for the lemma. There we go. Now actually we want to do the first word, this. So let's right click on that Greek word, choose hutas, and there's the lemma, and then go over to the right and choose text. Now we go to our syntax search, and I recommend giving it a label. So let's say we're going to call this is. I'm going to call that syntax search. All right, so we clicked on the pencil, we're typing the name, and I'm going to put in my LearnLogos because I'll share this with you, and then you'll be able to access it when I'm all done. All right, so we click on the plus symbol, and this, like I said, it's going to be a little tricky with a small screen. And then there's words. We click on word. Now we have the word at the left, and a menu opens up at the right. We're going to locate the lexeme or the lemma. We're going to right click and paste our Greek word in it. We'll wait for Logos to find the Greek word, and then we'll choose it. And of course, this is a demonstrative pronoun, so we'll click it. And right away, in a moment or two, Logos will put in that Greek word. We're good to go. Now, since we're looking for this word, I'm going to click on it again. And I always recommend clicking, highlighting this term if you want to see the word. And typically I check the box matching skips levels. This is really important to do as a kind of starter. Just automatically do this. There will come a point in time when you won't need to do this, but for now let's just check it. All right, so we got the first word. Now how do we build the second word, which is? So once again, we'll right click on Estine. We'll locate the lemma. Then we'll locate copy reference text. And then we'll go over here. Now, the way to think about this part is the easy part. Since these words are vertical in word order and verse order, we can follow the same thing graphically. So we're going to float our mouse, look for that little plus. Since there's nothing between our two words, we'll click the plus. We'll click on word. It's been added. And then we'll go over to the lexeme, right click and paste. Wait for the menu to appear, choose the word, press enter. And now we got the two words. So notice we're matching each one in the order. So we got the demonstrative pronoun, we got the verb. Let's come back. Let's use this too, just for the fun of it. Okay. This is an article, and we're going to right click on the article. We're going to choose the lemma, and we're going to choose text, and then we're going to click on the plus. We're going to choose the word. Okay. And then go over to the lexeme. All right, and paste it, locate the in the menu. All right, we're good. Now, the thing is this particular article is not necessary for this search, but we're going to include both options, all right? So we've got all three in a row. But here's the problem. If we just search on those three words, and let's do that, we should get a hit, and we did. This is my blood, okay? And you can see the red is highlighted because that's the one we highlighted. If we click on Amy and choose highlight this term and rerun the search, we now see those two Greek words highlighted. And you can see the full phrase being highlighted. So now if you only see the Greek, and that can happen, what you can do is click add versions and then type in your preferred Bible translation. In this case, NASB 95. Press enter or click it. If it doesn't show up, click in the box and then physically press the enter key twice on the keyboard, and that will add the Bible to the search window. Now you can you have the benefits of searching in the Greek, but you have the English translation to understand. Now that we know this worked and is correct, we need to do a couple things. I recommend always looking at the greater superstructure. Let me right click and explain what I mean. So here we are, and this whole phrase is part of this thing called a dialogic frame, and then it's part of a sentence. To be faithful and consistent, I'm going to choose dialogic frame. So let's go ahead and right click and dock this tab. And I'm just going to go to the top one at the left and click the far left plus. You can see there's frame, so we'll click it and we'll choose dialogic. Now, if you follow your mouse over these, sometimes you do get some definitions, sometimes you don't. In this case, we did. Within a sentence, dialogue tends to occur as the effect of the verb speaking. In this regard, it is, in essence, a unique form of an object clause which contains direct discourse. So we are dealing with discourse, so let's leave that in there for now. But there's one problem with our syntax search. These two words have been disconnected. All three of these are inside this dialogical frame. So we have to take our mouse and drag these and reconnect them as they were before. All right? And now all three words are connected in a row vertically, and they're flowing out of the dialogic frame. We can click on it and we'll choose matching skips level. Now we could probably check quotative. It doesn't matter. And let's go ahead and rerun the search for Mark 14:24, make sure we get a hit. We did. All right, now that we've confirmed it, and let's go back to our personal book, we've done the matching skips levels, we've checked the highlighted, we've right-clicked and copied, we've recreated the structure, and now we run the search, which we've done. Now we're ready to test it for prime time. So we're going to click on Mark 14:24, and we're going to choose Matthew through Revelation and run the search. Now remember, I'm doing this with the article, but look what we get now. Every place where this structure appears. So this is my beloved son. This man cannot be. This is the prophet Jesus. Is this not the carpenter? And we can work through every one of these. Now what we're looking for to find the pattern is we're looking for this idea of an object. All right. This is my beloved son. Well, that's clearly a label. But Jesus is not changing. He's still the Son. So we don't have one thing being changed into another. That's what we're looking for from a context. All right? So we do get the blood of the covenant and so forth. Now, you'll notice that we don't have our Acts passage. Okay? But we do have it here. This is, look at this. He is the stone which was rejected. Jesus is not literally being changed into the stone. But look at the expression. All three are there. And so there's a good example of something being relabeled, given a new value, a new meaning. Now, if we wanted to remove this article, we can do it two ways. We can literally remove it, or let me show you a little technique here. I'm going to click on the plus. I'm going to choose or, and then I'm going to click on the first one, right-click on it, choose copy, then float my mouse and right-click on this bottom plus and choose paste. And now I'm able to copy the whole thing, saving me a ton of time. Now I can click on this or, this extra article, press delete and get rid of it. Now we can run the search and we'll get more hits. So we went from 12 results to now 45. Now we're getting all the hits, and we'll see a lot more with and without the article. And this is really fascinating. This to me was, for what it's worth, a excellent grammatical insight for interpreting how should we understand the Lord's Supper. And that's why this is really good. Now, you'll notice we don't see the passage here because there's some additional grammatical elements as well, but you get the idea. Very, very powerful. So take advantage of tools like this, and you can do some amazing interpretive insights by running patterns. And we're going to do a whole bunch of these. So hopefully you found that useful and a good way to kind of get us out of the box. So let me go ahead and just close everything down, and we'll continue in the personal book and go forward from there. I'm going to go ahead and share this. So share, and I'm going to say yes and done. And now if you go to Documents, let me just make sure I resync it here. So now if you go to Documents and you go to Public, and you type in "this is" in quotes, there you go. You can click on this, add to your docs, and now you have this example. So take advantage of that. All right, let me go ahead and close those down, and let's return to our personal book. All right, so that's the building blocks of every syntax search. Now let's talk about some basic patterns, the subject and verb pattern. I'm going to click on Matthew 18:20, and actually I've already built the search, but we'll go through this again. And so here it is. We're going to use the Lexham Syntactic Greek New Testament. We're going to look at Matthew 8:20, and we're going to look at an expression Jesus says. So let me move this out of the way. All right, and let's build it.